I'm really excited for this. We've been using Malomo with almost every single client that we work with on the email and SMS side for at least a year now. And actually, in my Ask Me Anything that I was doing yesterday on LinkedIn, one of the questions was basically if you had to pick like one thing to do with email, like what would you prioritize first and foremost? And it was everything that we're about to walk through here today for a variety of reasons. So feel free to put any comments, questions in the chat as we go along here, and can stop and have more of an open dialogue at any time. So first, this might be repetitive for some of you, but wanted to set the stage for why the transactional experience is such a crucial component of the customer journey, outside of it being sort of obvious that you're transacting with the business, and then there's a lot of touch points that come in here. But on average, a customer is going to check that order status page 4.6 times per order. So when we were auditing some of our clients year and a half ago, looking at the amount of traffic that was going to that order traffic page, it makes up anywhere between 10 to 20% of their total website traffic. So if you're not thinking about how to customize the experience or enhance the experience of that order tracking experience for your customers, you're missing out on a significant upside opportunity. And the standard out-of-the-box Shopify setup is very templated, both from the emails and texts that are sent to the customer, but also the order tracking page. You, as well as I, can tell automatically whether a brand is on Shopify or not if you get their order confirm emails or if you go to that order tracking page. So why are we so sort of bullish on transitioning our transactional emails and texts into platforms like Klaviyo and Attentive? There's a lot of reasons, but number one is additional transactional touch points. So these touch points already have your highest open rate, your highest click rate of any messaging you're going to send out because they're transactional, they're timely, they're relevant, and they're going to go to everybody, regardless of if they're subscribed or not. So Shopify only supports certain endpoints from the carriers, whereas Malomo and their integration with Klaviyo and Attentive supports more. So if I can get 7 transactional touch points instead of 6, that's going to produce outsized results for the brand that we're working with. Second is getting ahead of customer service inquiries. So in all the flows that we're building out, we're able to set up automatic package delayed emails and texts. So let's say it's been in transit for longer than 2 days. You can proactively send an email and text letting the customer know it's taking a little bit longer and mitigate some of the customer service inquiries you're going to get. The third is if you just use your system notifications out of Shopify or even any other e-com platform, you can't A/B test and you can't measure performance. When our brands were using the Shopify email and text transactional communications before, I had no idea whether they were being clicked on, what the open rate was, how much additional revenue was being driven through their experience and interaction with those touch points. So by getting them out of the e-com platform, you're able to really hone in on what's working and what's not. And then fourth is customization. So Shopify, you can kind of customize the transactional templates, but put them into Klaviyo or put them into Attentive, and you can use the same look and feel that you're using for all of your other email and SMS communications, and then get into personalization, which I'm going to touch on a lot here, because all the data that's already living in your email platform is going to be available for you to create custom transactional journeys. So like at a minimum with all of our clients, we have a separate transactional experience for one-shot customers and a separate transactional experience for subscription customers, because they're obviously two very different groups. And then we have a vested interest with the one-shot customers in turning them into subscription customers. So a lot of the messaging and language that we put on the order tracking page incentivizes that. But then for subscription customers, it talks more about reinforcing the value props of the subscription program, but also trying to turn them into a referrer or an advocate of the brand through a referral program that we've set up. So those are all of the things that I'm going to be covering today, and to give you an overview of why not only the transactional emails and texts are important, but also the order tracking pages that you're driving your customers to in order to improve retention and increase LTV. So first, I'm going to touch on the actual implementation in your email and SMS accounts. So we'll distribute this deck afterwards as well, so you don't have to feverishly write all this down. But there's some bare minimum recommended transactional flows that you're going to want to implement. It varies for Shopify Plus versus Shopify, because with Shopify Plus, you're able to turn off all transactional communications, whereas for the standard Shopify brand plans, you're not able to turn them all off. So first being order confirmation, second, pre-transit, third, in transit, fourth, out for delivery, fifth, delivered, and then 6 and 7 available for pickup, and then any exceptions. So is there a delay? Is there an error? Is there a return to sender? So we move all of these transactional flows into Klaviyo or Attentive when we're working with a Shopify merchant. And here are just some examples of what that could look like. There's some key components that we like to include in any of the emails as well. So here you can see header. I like to have header nav bars on any emails that are going out. That helps typically increase the click-through rate on the campaigns or any messaging that's going out. Obviously, you need to include shipment status, your status details, your expected delivery date, and your CTA to the tracking page, but also like to show some other branding and marketing materials at the bottom of the communication. So once we take care of all the bare minimums when it comes to what needs to be included in a transactional communication, that's where we can start to highlight other CTAs. So let's say we set up a split in Klaviyo where we want to target customers who are not subscribed to SMS marketing yet. Maybe we make this call to action at the bottom here, sign up for text, and you'll get some sort of a special gift in your next order or something like that. So using this valuable real estate because of how high the open rate and how high the click rates are on these on these messages to be able to drive whatever your end goal is with that particular customer. Next is segmentation. So there's a lot of different things you can do with segmentation because quite literally any of the segmentation you're using in your welcome flow or your abandoned cart flow or in your campaign messaging can be used when you're building out your transactional journeys now. That's one of the biggest benefits to getting the transactional communications into a platform like Klaviyo or Attentive is that all the data that those platforms already have can be used to create conditional or trigger splits to do personalized communication. So here are just a couple examples. You can do carrier split. So whether it's like a FedEx or DHL or UPS, first time versus returning, whether you want to communicate separately to them, a subscriber versus non-subscriber. So this would be those who are not opted in to receive email marketing communications. This is a great place to try and get them to opt into that so that you can promote marketing materials to them later on. This is an example of that delay. So waiting a day and then checking to see if a shipment update has come. If not, then letting them know that, hey, there's a little bit of a delay on your order. So preemptively getting ahead of that customer service inquiry. And then you could even do things like gender. You could do active subscription customer versus not active subscription customer. You could do VIP. So is this customer a VIP or not? Whatever your VIP criteria is, if it's number of orders or if it's revenue threshold. Like the transactional experience is where you can almost be guaranteed that your customers are going to see whatever it is you're putting in there. So one example of what we like to do is when we're architecting a loyalty program, let's say it's based off of number of orders or dollar amount spent. Well, in all of our transactional communications, we're going to let that customer know, hey, like you're in the bronze tier or you're in the silver tier, and this is how you need to get to the next tier. You could think of it sort of as like a Uber or airlines programs where you just have to continue to spend or use with the brand to get to that next level. And so we like to highlight that and all the transactional touch points because if I'm a first-time customer of a brand and I see, oh, wait, if I come back and make that second order, I get all these other special things, I'm obviously going to be more likely to do so than if that's not being represented in the transactional communications. This is not necessarily segmentation in the flow, but was still a cool use case that I wanted to include regardless, because I love the conversational nature of SMS marketing. And this was a really cool example of how you can get zero-party data out of your customers in a transactional communication. So this is an example of a brand who asked the customer whether or not they want to get brewing instructions, recipes, food pairings, or they want to be connected with customer service. And the great thing about this is you can think of other ways that this could be applicable, like for your brand. Maybe it's your skincare brand and you want to know what type of skin they have and ask them in this. Then that gets saved as a property on that customer profile in your account. So you can use it later on for segmentation in your campaigns and your automations and things like that. But I thought this was a really neat use case that potentially might be relevant to any of you listening. And then the Klaviyo and Attentive integration, both are very straightforward. You've got pre-built emails for a quick start, and you just clone them into your Klaviyo accounts, and then you can customize them to be whatever look and feel you like. And then again, set up those A/B tests and any sort of multivariate tests you want. So I know that was a lot. I think I see some things in the chat here. None questions just yet, but I'm going to jump into the Soylent example, which was actually one of our first mutual customers with Malomo. And when I saw the results of what we were able to do here, not even with crazy segmentation, like literally all we did was create a separate transactional journey for one-shot customers and a separate transactional journey for subscription customers. And also we're able to leverage some integrations that Malomo has, like with Rebuy, to be able to drive substantial like revenue results for Soylent. And this is actually one of the reasons that we are able to win them as a client in our sort of RFP process all the way back in 2021, because we forecasted out for them like, hey, if you come with us, this is how we're going to revamp your entire transactional experience. And given their volume and how much traffic was going to like the order tracking page, I was certain without a doubt that we were going to be able to produce a crazy ROI for them. And so this is very simply how we set it up. Conditionally splitting by whether or not they're an active subscription customer or a one-shot customer. And then we also have that conditional split for the delay messaging. So on these communications, we have a 12% CTR. I don't know about you, but I've almost never seen a marketing email have a 12% CTR. And then these emails are driving towards that custom order tracking page. So here you can see on the one-shot tracking page, we have the status of the order, which is delivered. But, oh, wow, actually 75% of the page is, hey, you should subscribe and save. And then if we scroll down below this, you'd see the Rebuy integration highlighting to the one-shot customers other recommended products that they should think about adding to their next order. Then on the subscription tracking page, it's more lifestyle content. And then underneath that is articles about how to use Soylent for that customer, as well as advocating the referral program. So we were able to drive up 54x ROI by implementing this strategy. And this doesn't even include how we could have conditionally split even further and looked at, is this a loyalty customer or not? Is this customer subscribed to SMS or not? How much money have they spent with us to date? So at a bare minimum, I'd recommend doing this, especially if you have a subscription program, and then think about the other ways that you could personalize the transactional experience. So one of the great things about Malomo as well is that it integrates with the rest of our sort of preferred tech stack. The way that Electriq has gone about just the way it works with clients, but also the ecosystem as a whole, is aligning with a best-in-class solution and then going very deep in that partnership so that we truly can be experts within that particular tool and then be able to leverage them all together to create outsized returns. So this whole thing that I just sort of walked through here is an example of 1 + 1 = 3 when it comes to, you could just work with Electriq or you could just work with Malomo, but when you work with the two together, you're able to achieve more than you would individually. And it only gets amplified when I'm able to add in other partners into that stack. So for example, highlighting the Rebuy integration, showcasing recommended products to the customer that they're going to be most likely to purchase. That automatically improves the ROI that we're able to get with Malomo. So then it's more of like a 1 + 1 + 1 = 5 or something. But that's really the true beauty of these different solutions that we've partnered with being able to work together. So these are a couple of examples of tracking pages that are leveraging other integrations. So Disco's tracking page obviously has the order tracking status, but you also have your upsells and cross sells by Rebuy right in the landing page. And then you have Recharge plugging the 20% off your first subscription order for their one-shot customers. You also have the Loop integration. So you can now start a return or exchange directly from that order tracking page. I can't tell you how painful most of the returns process is for Shopify brands that I've shopped from historically. It's very unclear whether you do it in your customer account or if you do it from the order tracking page. And more often than not, you're left sort of searching in the FAQ to figure out how to even initiate a return. This has cut down on so much of that for us because we can automatically showcase this in the order tracking page to allow a customer to initiate a return or exchange right in the same landing page. And then a very new one that I want to say came out probably like a month ago that I'm really excited about is the status integration. So status, the whole sort of ethos behind it is that it is converting your customers into signed in shoppers. And all of the data shows that if you are a customer that has an account and then also that you are a signed in shopper, your AOV, your lifetime value, your retention, all of that is going to be higher. So you're able to now leverage status customer accounts within the Malomo tracking experience. And so you can track multiple orders with one sign-in. You're going to reduce a lot of those "where's my order" support tickets, and you can keep the shopper signed in for up to 6 months, saving viewed cart items into the account and then using all that data to create a more personalized shopping experience. So I know I ran through that pretty quickly. There's a lot of content and tidbits in there. But the number one takeaway for any brand that is watching this is even if you're not on Shopify, because obviously Shopify Malomo is our preferred stack here. Let's say you're on a different platform, like you without a doubt have to figure out how to regain control of your transactional experience for your customers, because that is one of the biggest areas of interaction that customers have with your brand. There's so many emails, there's so many texts that are associated with the transactional journey. I mean, at a bare minimum, 7 recommended flows that I highlighted at the beginning of this. So how do you make this a unique experience for the customer to differentiate yourself from other brands who might just be using their standard system emails, who think of it as just sort of a must-have versus an opportunity to improve retention and improve the experience of the customer? So that's my spiel. I hope everybody found it helpful, but I'm not sure if we want to open it up for Q&A now or what, Noah.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Whenever you're ready to move on from Electriq, we've got a sales role for you. Whenever you're ready, just let us know. That was incredible. Really cool tactical examples. And I love the Soylent case study, obviously, like those results just sort of speak for themselves. And it's cool to have that sort of like hero use case that's propelled our take forward. And
the one thing I actually didn't touch on from an ops perspective that is becoming more interesting, that I don't necessarily have as much insight into because I'm not an ops person and I'm not envious of anybody who has to deal with e-commerce ops. They deserve a raise. Is insight into like how long is the order actually taking to get from order placed to at your door, or from order is in transit to at the customer's door, and then breaking it down on a per carrier basis as well, because you might have some carriers that are just completely dropping the ball. And so that's really another layer that Malomo's been able to unlock for our brands that we work with from the ops side. And I've heard raving things from the ops teams about how they can really start to dig in with their 3PL on how to address and make that customer experience better. Because you're going up against, like, I could go on Amazon and buy something, it'll be here in like 30 minutes at my door. How do you as a brand make sure that you are getting the orders out to your customers as quickly as possible?
Yeah, that's a fantastic call out. And you kind of touched on the messaging side of that, right? Like being able to proactively communicate in sort of an automated fashion with your customers anytime something goes awry, which is a huge win for ops teams. And we see like Wismo tickets being cut by over 50% for most of our merchants as soon as they implement those automated flows. But to your point, like the the additional side of that is all the data that we're collecting on the back end to be able to help merchants understand like where bottlenecks are in their supply chain on the logistics side, and where they might be able to make some changes to enhance the entire shipping experience for their merchants across the board. I
Yeah.
did get a couple questions directly. So one is, what does pricing look like for Malomo? We actually publish pricing on our site. Mariah, if you wouldn't mind dropping that link in there. So we have plans starting at $189, but everybody on this webinar is going to get the Friends of Brandon discount. So just make sure that you mention you came from the webinar or you're a friend of Brandon. And that can reduce the Malomo cost by up to 50% depending on your order volume. So again, just be sure to mention you came from this webinar or that you're a friend of Brandon, and we will hook you up on that. The other is, how long does it take to get set up? Brandon, I would love for you to chime in here. For us, we typically budget 1 to 4 weeks, depending on sort of the package that you choose with Malomo, who's going to be doing the build of it, and how sophisticated you want your experience to be right out of the gate. For Electriq clients, a lot of times, that's on the shorter end of the 1 to 4 weeks once you sign up with Malomo, just because they've done it so many times. They really know what they're doing, but they also take a really personalized approach to making sure that the experience they build for you is sort of specific to the results and goals that you're looking to drive from the tracking experience. But with that, Brandon, anything you'd add there?
I've set it up in a day. If you want, you can do it, because you can. The nice thing with the Malomo team is they'll clone the flows into your account, and so then you just have to take the email and change it into your template. And without a doubt, I always know that this is going to produce results for the brand. So there's also a sense of urgency behind getting this up and running sooner rather than later. So we don't start with the conditional splits and all the custom order tracking pages and stuff like that. We just, at a bare minimum, get the emails going out of Klaviyo with our proper styling, and then we can expand, start to add in tests and things like that. So we try to just get it as live as quickly as possible, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, in the Soylent example, 15 to 20% of their web traffic's going to the order tracking page. So every day that they don't have Malomo in place, they're sending that traffic, or in a way just giving away that traffic to UPS or FedEx or whoever their carrier is. So the sooner that you can get even a basic tracking page that goes back to your site set up, you're recapturing 15 to 20% of your web traffic right away, and then you can optimize for it over time.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that just don't need to be tested. Like, I don't need to test whether sending them to the Shopify order tracking page or sending them to a Malomo tracking page, which one's going to perform better, at least not at this point. So we just implement those, and then we refine our testing strategy with each particular brand.
Okay, awesome. I'm dropping in my contact info in the chat, Brandon, if you want to do the same. While I do this, anything else that you wanted to add or touch on?
Let me drop my email in here. I mean, just happy if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out directly. I'm sure I can point you in the right direction at the very least. Once you are up and running, then from there, like, how do you extend and really start to create those personalized experiences, but then get into your testing sort of methodology and how you're going to, now that you're up and running, like, make it even better. That's where things start to get really interesting. And you can even drive further business results for your brand, because let's say, like, oh, if somebody's an SMS subscriber and they are also, they take X, Y, and Z action, then go into your transactional journey and make the splits to talk to those customers to get them to get the same attributes that is going to indicate a higher value customer for your brand. So things like that are pretty interesting to me. And just for some reason, I like talking about this stuff. So feel free to reach out.
We appreciate that. I did get one more question. Does Malomo integrate with a third party for order status updates? I think Janine is asking about probably like messaging platforms, unless you have a different take on that, Brandon. But yeah, in the presentation, Brandon went deep on our integrations with Attentive, with Klaviyo. We also have PostScript integration for SMS. So yes, we do integrate with third parties on the messaging side.
Yeah. And then if it's carriers, I mean, you guys integrate with a ton of carriers. So
Right. Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. We'll give everybody about 15 minutes back. Brandon, thank you so much, man. Always a pleasure hanging with you and learning from you. I think the audience got a lot out of it too. This will be recorded again and shared afterward. But hit us up, Brandon or I. Emails are in the chat there for any follow-up questions, or if you want to take a deeper, more personal dive into what Malomo can do for you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks,
See ya.
Brandon. Talk soon, man. Bye.